So you want to get started playing D&D. You don't have a group. You need to kind of focus on stuff. So obviously somebody has to be the DM. You picked this video, so I'm assuming you want to learn how to be a dungeon master. So we're going to go through it, and I'm going to show you how I would do it if I was telling myself how to go back in time and how to be a good DM and how to get into Dungeons and Dragons. So first thing you need to do is you need to find other nerds. So if you don't have a bunch of nerds, you're going to have to find some. So you'd be surprised on who plays Dungeons and Dragons that you don't know. I met somebody at the gym one time. I had a D&D hat on, and he basically said, "You play Dungeons and Dragons?" I'm like, "Yeah, did we just become best friends?" So he played on my group for a few years. He hasn't been playing in a while, but I'm hoping to get him back at the table. So how do we get started playing D&D? Again, you got to find like-minded people that want to play it, or maybe you can convince some people to play it. One thing that I found is trying too hard to get the wrong people to play D&D. It's not going to be helpful. It's actually going to be kind of frustrating. Like if they don't want to learn their character and it's like pulling teeth to get them to do stuff. Like nobody's going to be as ambitious to play as you are. So there's nobody at my table. Well, I shouldn't say that. I probably have maybe one other person, maybe that's as big a nerd as I am. But other than that, like other people kind of, they get into their characters, and if you gave everybody a scale of 1 to 10, there's going to be people at 9, 10, 11. Like they're just full on. That's me. Sometimes I hold my players to the same standard. I've had to ease back. Anyways, we'll talk about that as we go. But first thing you need is a group. So you need to create people to play. The next thing that you're going to need a time that works for everybody. Now, as a DM, you should be flexible. You should try to accommodate everybody. But at the end of the day, you're the DM. You're the one running the game. If it doesn't work for you, whatever time slot you pick, it's best that you have the same time every week. So we play at 1:30 on Sundays. I work shift work. I've worked in the jail for 27 years, so I don't always have Sundays off. Sometimes I'll take them off, or if they owe me a day, I'll usually try to take a D&D day if I'm being honest. So create a time that works for you and foremost as the DM, okay? Because everyone else, if you change the time and I change it to Fridays and I make a point of moving everything around, and then the people that want it on Fridays don't show up on Fridays, I'm going to be kind of irritated. So yeah, at the end of the day, stuff comes up, people have to cancel. The hardcores that are going to show up regular, eventually you'll get your group going, okay? So that's the next thing. So you find people, you pick a time. If you got a pretty wide open schedule, you work Monday to Friday, whatever works. It could be a Tuesday, Wednesday evening, doesn't matter. You want to play anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, okay? 4 to 6 hours, that gets kind of long. I think as a one-off, you want to have supper and do that kind of thing. We are going to do that one of these days. And that could be fun, right? You just take a break and you get to hang out with everybody. That's the big thing about playing Dungeons & Dragons is the people and playing, right? Hanging out, making fun of each other, whatever your table kind of is. The next thing that I'm going to cover is like, where do you start after you have a time, everything's all set? Where should you start? So if you wanted to start, I'll put a couple things out here just to have a look here. But if you want to start reading all this, and this is just a fraction. Every book that you buy that's a pre-written adventure has player options in the back and different spells and magic items. If you start here, which a lot of people do, a lot of people get overwhelmed and stop playing pretty quick too. So I don't think that's the way to go. These are the core 3 books that you're going to need. And I say buy them anyway. Buy them as soon as you can. Start reading through them. But you don't have to know all this. As a dungeon master, you don't have to know the whole player's handbook. You do have to know, like, an idea where to find things. But if I'm playing a level 5 barbarian and I have all these special abilities, as a DM, that the DM can just ask me, oh, can you tell me how that works? You're not going to know every character option and every spell that they have and everything, so you just ask them, hey, could you tell me how that works? And then you need to know how your side of it, the ability scores, and how you use that. Okay, so you don't need to know the whole player's handbook. We're not even going to start with these, but these are great references. But you know what, I haven't read this whole book. I've not read this whole book. Okay, haven't read this whole book. You're going to pick stuff out that you need to read, like combat and initiative orders and stuff like that, but we're going to get into that. Monster Manual. Awesome. One of my favorite books are Monster Manuals. I just like flipping through this stuff. So, we're not even going to start there. Then you get into, you get on a rabbit hole and you go to Kobold Press, and I'm not sponsored by anybody, obviously. My channel's pretty new, but I love all this stuff. Flea Mortals. So you have more player options, right? Tassa's Column of Everything, Xander's Guide to Everything. That's a good addition if you're playing Curse of Strahd, but you shouldn't be playing Curse of Strahd in your first, when you're a DM starting off, okay? What I would suggest is you have starter sets, okay? This is the newest one, 5.5. These other three are all 2014 or 5e, whatever you want to call. I would definitely, if I was starting today, I'd probably start with this. Okay, but there's a lot more to that. I did a complete unboxing of that. You can watch it. All these are going to be the same. Okay, they're packaged different. They have different options, different things in them. It really doesn't matter what's going to be in one, so we're going to crack one open. So if I'm a new DM, this is how I'm starting. I actually have two of these. Bought somebody one for Christmas. They got snotty with me. They left it. Didn't want the gift, so I took it back. I don't care. It's D&D. I'll have 2 and 3 of everything. Starter rule set. This is the adventure. Okay, so rather than reading 3 core books, which the Monster Manual, you only need the monsters that you're actually running if you were doing that. But some people are like, oh, I have to read the whole book. No, you don't. Okay? You're going to read the starter rule set. There is 32 pages. The player's handbook is a few hundred pages. I don't know, maybe 250 pages, I'm guessing. You really want to read that whole thing before you play D&D? They talk about DM burnout. You're going to burn yourself out. So you're going to use this kind of like spice. So you're going to use a little bit all the time. So where you're going to start, 32 pages. Absolutely, you're going to read this whole thing. But it's going to tell you basically how to play, getting started. It's going to talk about your abilities. Really, you're running this as a DM, how you're using the ability scores, right? Like how you're able to check spells or detect traps, whatever you're doing. It's going to talk about the order of combat, movement and positions, actions in combat, making an attack. Everything is here. Travel, resting, rewards, equipment. So we're going to read those whole 32 pages. Now this here is the actual campaign. Lost Mine of Phandelver is an amazing adventure. I've run it. I've played in it. It's great. Actually, I don't know if it was this one. I think we played Icewind Dale after that. My character died 3 times, and I think I might have lost one in here, but in one session, a 3-hour session, I lost 3 characters. But it's cool. That's I like that. Some people get upset your character's dead. You get to make another character. So this is going to basically break down every encounter that you have here. When you're doing this, one thing that I found, and I don't know where I've seen it because I have so much that I've read. I have so many books, but they talk about scenes, okay? So like in this here, if you're preparing this, and there's not a whole lot of prep, a lot of it's there for you, but you should read that module and have a good understanding of it. It's only 60 some pages, so the two of them are less than 100 pages, right? You don't have to read the whole thing. You could start after reading a few chapters, but you should read like the introduction, the overview, kind of get an idea of what's going on. And then you're going to do scene selection. So let's say the characters are in a tavern. Well, if they leave the tavern, if nothing's covered in there, you're going to have something outside. That's what you're going to prep. Like, oh, maybe there's a monster out there. Maybe it's an NPC's going to talk to them about something. Maybe they missed something in the bar that they were supposed to pick up and they leave. So the first thing they do is they run out, they come outside and there's an NPC there, and boom, you give them the little plot hook again, right? So you're trying to feed it to them if they're missing it. So yeah, that's what you're going to do for that. You want to start your adventure when you're being a DM. You want to start low level. Don't pick something that you're going to start at level 5, and now the characters are more powerful. It's a longer learning curve. Okay, so if you played some DM like Dungeons and Dragons before, but you never DM'd, you might be able to make that jump because you have an understanding of the rules. If you're starting from scratch, I don't suggest you start with Curse of Strahd. Although there is the Death House, you do start at level 1. That's a big module. You don't have to read, like we're playing Descent into Avernus now. Characters are level 8 now. I haven't read the whole module yet. Like I'm gonna go through it. There's parts of that module that I'm not gonna use because the way that works, it's kind of 2 paths they go. I'm doing a little bit different. I'm picking where I want them to go, the coolest stuff, because if they go one way, they miss all this stuff over here. So as a DM, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to pick what's really cool, and that's what I'm going to run. So think of yourself as an apprentice, okay? So you're not a journeyman. You're not a red seal. You know, if you're talking trades, or, you know, you're not a doctor. You're going to school to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like when you first start, you're not going to know a lot of the stuff. I promise not to slurp my coffee like you see in videos people do. It's kind of annoying. So yeah, realize when I say that, you're going to make a lot of mistakes, okay? And that's perfectly fine. Half the time the players don't even know you made them. At the end of the day, make some corrections. The players are not going to always do what you expect. Sometimes I'll do something random when I'm at the table just to cause chaos and a bunch of bullshit. Not to really screw the DM around, just to be funny. I don't know, I'll just do things that aren't normal. But like when it comes to combat, like my players, I'm trying to basically like be really smart about combat, like I would be. Like if I was in combat and you put a sword in my hand and I have to go do something, I'm going to try to plan and calculate. So you want to encourage that from your players so that they do that also. Don't over prep, because if you over prep, like I'll have a few things, like maybe they're in the tavern, I'm going to have somebody go up and pick a fight with one of the characters, or they're going to try to pickpocket them, or they're going to overhear a conversation, whatever you want to do, and that could be the plot hook, but they're not supposed to hear it, but yet they hear it, but you wanted them to hear it, but you're giving it to them, and then they feel really cool about it, or they pickpocket somebody, put a note in that pocket for the next plot hook. Like, you can, that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to prep, just dropping little hooks, or if they get off track and they're like, oh, I'm going to go outside the tavern and I'm just going to go into the forest. Okay, am I ready for that? Probably not, but I may have, right off the bat, I'm just going to think of woodland creatures and I'm going to throw something at you. Or maybe nothing happens, they wander around forever and they find nothing, right? Because maybe you want to draw them back in. If you reward that behavior all the time, you're also going to be dealing with it a lot. So yeah, don't over prep, but do some prep. Read the monsters so you know what they can do. Because there's nothing worse, like the combat was too easy and you're like, God, they just went right through that. It's probably because you don't know how to run the monsters. You're gonna, good book, The Monsters Know What They're Doing, I think is what it's called. I have it somewhere here. That's a good book. Like, think of if you're a goblin, and they don't have to be run like they're like super dumb and they're just going to run in and fight to the death. The monsters can flee. You can do morale checks, that sort of thing. So I'm going to encourage you to do that. One thing that I will do for the players is I'll, before the end of the session, I'll kind of, maybe I already gave them some plot hooks. Maybe they can go in two different directions. I'll ask them at the end of that session, okay, where do you see yourself in the next session? Because I want to prep it a little better, and I want to make sure that I use a lot of scatter terrain. I want to set it up, so I'm going to set it up on Saturday probably. We're going to play on Sunday, so it kind of gets me in the mood. I'm doing that, and then I can prep it. I don't overly prep stuff now. I read ahead, and everything's pretty laid out in here, so I know where everything's at for the most part. So it's easy for me to do that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is watch some live play. So if you're going to run Lost Mine at Phandelver and you're just overwhelmed with the whole thing, and people are going to think I suck and I'm not going to be very good, nobody cares. Everybody's just happy that somebody's running the game and they're having fun. So don't worry about that. Don't get caught up into, I don't know how to voice act, I don't know how to role play the monsters. I never really did a whole lot of that in the beginning. A really cool thing you can do to get engagement from your players is ask them to describe the monster's death. How did they die? And most times, they get ready to animate it. They're like, well, I take my sword, and they'll walk through it, and that's a good way to do it. And then they'll usually kind of come up with an insult or something to the monster, or they're doing that during combat. Engage your players, but you can just speak in your normal voice. It says this to you, or it does this. You can describe stuff too, describe how the monsters are walking. They're walking with a limp or whatever. Maybe they're injured, or maybe they're whining or they're crying. Whatever, you can describe that stuff. You don't actually have to make the noises of a monster crying. I have a lot of the same voices as what I noticed for all these different things, because I ran Curse of Strahd, and now we're running Descendant Avernus. I have the same voice for the bosses a lot of times, is what I noticed. And there is one voice that I can do really well, but I don't really want to repeat it because I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's it's I will say this, in Descendant Avernus there is a bearded devil. I believe it's a bearded devil, and it's brain damage. So I'm voice acting that. Everyone at the table is telling me it's my best voice acting yet. So I don't know how to take that. It's kind of funny. But yeah, hopefully you stayed till the end. And this is kind of a beginner's version to be a dungeon master. I hope it was helpful. And you want to know your ability scores, how you use them. And I will come out with another video. I am going to have another one. And it's going to be once you get past the initial how to be a DM, then how to take your games kind of to the next level, and that would include a little more role play, how to engage the players, how to get different players to engage. You're going to get players that sit there and say nothing till it's their turn, and they just roll a dice and they don't really do too much. It's a way to engage those players, okay? Because you're always going to have some player at the table that is constantly, I don't want to say stealing the spotlight, but they're hey, my player's doing this, I'm doing this, and oh, that's happening, I'm going to run over there and I'm going to do it right away. Sometimes you need to not pull them back, but be okay, that's cool, you did that, and then I'm going to go to the other player and be what are you doing? So I purposely will go around the table and be see what everybody's doing, because some people just won't speak up. And if everybody's the one person is always engaging, that's not good either, because you need to kind of draw them back a little bit. Or, like I said, I won't reward somebody that's always getting the reward. You want to spread that out at your table and make sure that, you're not having any kind of favoritism, where somebody's always finding the magic item and there's somebody at your table that you don't care for and you're treating their character like shit. really, why are they at your table then? You know what I mean? Like, why do that? Like, have fun, bring them in, and if I don't want you at my table because I don't like you, you're just not going to be at my table. That's pretty simple. So hopefully, you liked the video. I tried not to not do too much editing for this video. I'm just kind of mostly talking. I had a couple of little notes and things that I wanted to say. So yeah, hopefully this video is helpful for you, and hopefully you learned something. And like I said, you don't need to read all those books. You don't need to do a lot of the voice acting. You don't really need any of that stuff. So keep it simple, keep it light, and the lower level stuff is easier to run than the more complex stuff. So save that for later when you have more experience. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with anybody that might want to learn how to play. Again, I'm going to have more videos coming at you. The next one is going to be all about how to be a good player, and what your DM wants, and how to not be basically maybe a jerk at the table. So yeah, anyways, I'm coming at you from East Coast Canada, so I'm in Lewisburg, and my name is Jimmy. Hopefully you stay to the end of the video. Maybe you'll catch that. If you didn't, well, too bad. Keep rolling those nat 20s. Till next time.